Hi, Ghost Recaps here. Today we will be going through an sci-fi, thriller movie from 2014. Named, Automata. There will be spoilers ahead in this video, so chill out and enjoy. In 2044, 99.7% of Earth's population is wiped out due to climate change and a series of solar storms, leaving 21 million people worldwide living in a single city that is covered with mechanical clouds to provide rain. A robotic corporation called the ROC creates the Automata Pilgrim 7000, primitive humanoids called pilgrims, in an effort to restore the world. These robots come with two immutable protocols. They cannot harm life of any kind, and they cannot transform themselves or other robots. Initially, they were considered our salvation, but when they failed to stop the spread of desertification, they were forced into manual labor. Policeman Wallace visits the ghetto on a rainy night and finds a robot healing itself. It was a sophisticated transformation that used parts from other robots. Shocked by this discovery, he shoots it in the head. Meanwhile, Jacq Vaucan, an insurance investigator for The Rock, is investigating his last case of the day. After a robot is accused of killing a dog, Jacq performs the necessary tests and concludes that the robot is working fine. Jacq returns home to his wife, Rachel Vaucan, who is pregnant. Later that evening, he receives a message from the robot morgue asking him to examine a robot. The forensic expert opens it and reveals that the Pilgrim has been significantly modified. This is a very skilled job that only a clocksmith can accomplish. Jacq does not believe that the Pilgrim was found healing himself. The technician gives Jacq the robot's kernel and tells him that the unit was used to smuggle tools and small parts. She also points out that this unit lacks a second protocol, which is impossible. Jacq rescues the remains and shows them to his boss, Robert, saying that there may be a clocksmith, someone who illegally modifies the robot and is overriding another protocol. Incredibly, Robert dismisses this possibility. Jacq says he's tired and wants his transfer, but Robert turns down the request and orders him to take care of this mess. Jacq reaches the wall that separates the city from the desert. They suspect that one of the workers made the changes using the robots working there. An employee tells him that those pieces belong to 206, a unit that is still operational. When Jacq checks out his charging station, he sees 206 and follows him. After passing through a door with a broken lock, he reaches the ghetto on the other side of the wall. The area is restricted, and anyone who goes there is shot on sight. Jacq escapes the bullet and hides inside a shipping container. In the same container, he finds 206 holding a box, but surprisingly, 206 burns himself with fire. The burned robot is taken to the laboratories of The Rock, where it is opened and examined. They found that the robot had a rare nuclear battery that could power it indefinitely. They are once again able to power up the robot, but when he asks her why he set herself on fire, he burns again. Robert is upset because he believes Jacq is the only one to blame, as a robot would never harm itself. But if Jacq can show that a clocksmith is actually overriding another protocol, he agrees to give him a transfer. Jacq decides to go to the place where the first robot was shot, and while exploring the area, he finds a secret bag containing another battery. He visits Wallace and Ellis the next day and interrogates her about what he saw that day. Wallace agrees to assist Jacq in locating the clocksmith in the ghetto in exchange for the battery. They go to a red light area where they encounter Cleo, a robot designed to have sex with people. If a customer wants to experience pain as part of their enjoyment, they can do so. Wallace shoots Cleo and Jacq scolds him for his actions. Wallace says it was on purpose because now Jacq can wait for Cleo to take him to the clocksmith and chase them. Then he threatens him with a knife, reminding him that he needs half of it after selling the batteries on the black market as promised. Jacq agrees to Wallace's plan and follows Cleo's owner to the place where she is repaired. There he meets Dr. Susan Dupree, who claims she doesn't know who made the changes to Cleo. Jacq gives her the burnt robot's kernel and promises to give her his nuclear battery if she can find out who replaced it. He sends a report to Robert about what he has learned so far, but The Rock intercepts the message. The report reaches Security Chief Vernon Conway and he takes it to the CEO, Dominic Hawk. Hawk orders Conway to take care of it. Shortly after, Jacq receives two messages. After one of the Rocks tells him that the case has been closed and that he should return the kernel, a second message arrives from Dupree, telling him that he has found something. Jacq goes to see her in her lab, where he finds Cleo repairing herself as Dupree attached the shot kernel to her. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by the arrival of two children, who shoot Dupree and also go after Jacq as well. He runs and escapes through the back door. He enters a car outside with the assumption that it is his taxi, but Cleo is the one driving. They have to flee from there as a car chases them and starts firing at them. They eventually reach the desert, where two vehicles get stuck in a maze and crash. Jacq is injured while the henchmen are killed. Jacq regains consciousness in the morning and asks Cleo for help, but she leaves. However, she returns some time later and has brought 3 other modified robots with her. Together, they put Jacq in a car seat and began to drag him to the other side of town. Jacq requests that they take him back to the city, but they refuse and say that they must go to a safe place because the city is not safe for them. Jacq tries to leave on his own because these robots weren't following human orders, but they follow him because they still have the first protocol and they want to protect him. They put Jacq back in the chair, fed him insects, and even built a condenser to collect water for him to drink. Jacq discovers that several items from the cars, including nuclear batteries, have been recovered by robots. Rachel is going to the hospital. Hawk and Conway are talking with Robert at the Rock, informing him that Jacq is to blame for the recent wave of mutant robots. Robert does not agree with this. He still thinks Jacq is loyal to the company. Jacq asks for a bag of stuff collected by Cleo, in which he finds a flare gun, which he keeps with him, and his pager, which he uses to send a message to Robert before the battery dies. Robert sees the message and sends Wallace to retrieve Jacq. Wallace and Ellis drive to the desert, and Jacq sees their car in the distance. Thinking they are here to save him, he tells the robots to stop, firing a flare gun into the sky to signal their location. Police officers soon catch up with them, but Wallace attacks Jacq soon after getting out of the car. He gives Ellis the nuclear battery, and the robots tell him to stop, so Wallace starts shooting them. He was about to shoot Cleo as well, but before he could do so, Jacq shot him with a flare gun. Ellis flees in fear in her car and refuses to drive Jacq back to town. Jacq is unable to stop him. He can only watch and panic. Jacq picks up whatever he finds in Wallace's pocket and chases after the pilgrims. At night, Jacq tells them that if they take him back to town, he will give them the nuclear battery. Cleo replies that they will reach their destination tomorrow and she can find a vehicle there. Meanwhile, Hawk and Conway visit Robert at his home and take him back to the ROC to hear Ellis's report. Hawk explains that the first pilgrim was nothing more than a quantum brain, but it had no security protocols. By the 9th day, the unit had changed so much that the ROC team was unable to understand it. They understood that they needed to limit the intelligence of artificial robots. Hawk sends Robert and Conway into the desert with 2 other officers to find and kill Jacq. The next day, Jacq and 2 robots arrive at an abandoned factory, where he finally meets the clocksmith responsible for the changes. He was incredibly amazed to learn that it was a robot that had evolved on its own. As he walks into the facility, he finds all the illegally obtained components on a table, that were meant to build a particular model. Jacq leaves the room in search of the vehicle, and the robots begin building this model, but they still lack the nuclear batteries to complete it. Jacq found a car outside, but it was completely destroyed. He stands on a rock, and the clocksmith robot joins him. The robot says that he and other robots are planning to go to the radioactive zone, where humans cannot go. After a series of philosophical discussions, Jacq gives them his battery, which they use to complete a new design, a type of insect robot. Meanwhile, Robert's team finds Wallace's body, and they decide to wait there. Conway receives a message saying that 2 women will join them. A few hours later, another car arrives with Rachel and her newborn daughter. Robert becomes upset by this and refuses to use Rachel as bait. When Conway stops him from going back, Robert shoots him in the shoulder, and he also shoots him in return. The robots repair a vehicle for Jacq, and he leaves for the city. That's when he sees the birds flying around, allowing him to find Robert. Before dying in his arms, he accuses Jacq of betrayal and tells him that they have Rachel. Conway and his team arrive at the abandoned factory and shoot at the robots, causing a pilgrim to jump from a height. When the clocksmith pilgrim refuses to follow orders, Conway shoots him, and gets the kernel off his head. Then suddenly Jacq arrives with the car. They shoot at him but he keeps walking. Jacq manages to kill 2 people from the car and shoots the third with a shotgun, and flees towards the factory. Conway enters the factory and finds Jacq in the highest area. After accusing Jacq of betraying his own people, he picks up his shotgun to kill him, but a robot resembling Kit arrives and pushes him off a cliff. Jacq picks up his shotgun, thinking he may have to defend himself from it, but Rachel and the baby stop them. The couple are reunited when Cleo sees them. When she dares to touch the baby, her tender fingers make her stop crying. Jacq helps Cleo and the animal-like robot reach the other side of the cliff, and after saying goodbye to her, he and his family leave in the car. They eventually reach the coast, where Jacq again finds hope for a brighter future. This is Ghost Recaps Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.